isn't it crazy that this coming November is 10 years
Don't say it.
on a couch? We gotta do something big for that, for like the 10-year anniversary.
Multiverse? No, I'm just kidding. We don't have to go that big, but
Every guest that we've ever had on this show out of one couch.
It would be oh my god, it would be like on a couch Endgame, like in Marvel. Just like have all the guests coming out of freaking like portals and like the room that we're in or whatever. God, guys, we have this topic that's so big. We need everyone we've ever had on the show to come in and help us talk about it. And then on your left, Robbie.
Yeah, all of a sudden we just have Craig just over my shoulder. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. As always, I'm Robbie. This is Kyle. Kyle, how are you, buddy?
Doing all right? How are you?
Doing well. Summer is here. The first day of summer is tomorrow, Kyle.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
And one of the cool things, guys, check this out. It's
8:53 currently, and it is still somewhat bright out. Like it's cool. Not completely dark yet.
Just want to show you guys that.
Welcome to summer, everybody. Gotta love it. You gotta love it.
So cool.
But yeah, we're excited to be back for a new episode, and as always, excited to send a special shout out to our sponsors, Zyman Organizing and Wes Woodson, proud sponsors of the show, Screen Time with Doug and Kyle, and the Sports Blitz as well. So definitely appreciate their support as always. So,
and by the way, we do have a new episode of Screen Time coming up this week, so stay tuned for that.
Get ready,
Thursday
folks.
realm.
Yes. But in terms of tonight's episode, which we're currently filming right now, we wanted to talk a little baseball rules. You know, we've talked about like sports rules and stuff like that in past episodes before, but what we want to kind of do is sort of start a new little mini, not mini series, but mini sort of like series of episodes where we dive into different sports rules, especially those sports rules that we're not big fans of, that we're not the fondest of. So,
yeah, or just kind of like our takes on them.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're okay with them, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're just like...
It's really, it could go either way. It really could. So, tonight, we thought it'd be a good idea to start with the sport of baseball. In particular because baseball has undergone some rule changes over the last few seasons, some for the better, some for the worse.
Yeah,
some in particular, ones, right? Some in particular for the worse, which we're going to get into. But so we're going to jump right into talking some baseball rules tonight. It's going to be very exciting. And I guess since I kind of did the setup just then anyway, I want to start off with a rule that I personally hate with every fiber of my being, with every bone in my body, that literally I just don't understand this rule. I can't stand this rule. And I hate it. And it is the rule that's been around since 2020. So this is the 4th season of it now. It is the extra inning runner rule, which basically is if a game goes into extra innings, the last the player that got out for the offensive team the previous inning starts the inning at second base. And to me, it just cheapens the game of baseball to decide a game like that. You're literally going to tell me that a runner that did not earn their way onto the base could potentially be the game-winning run in a particular game. Now, luckily, they don't do this for the playoffs. Luckily, they take the rule away for the playoffs. Because if they were doing the rule for the playoffs, I may actually go down to the stadium and start my own one-man revolt.
Nice. Nice. I'll join it too.
Yeah. But I hate it. It's a cheap way to end a game. It really, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it really doesn't impact like the amount of time that games go, because guess what? Like teams could just like sort of get the same number of runs. So like it doesn't have that big of an impact, I would argue. And it just really bothers me, like I said, that a runner that didn't earn their way onto the base could be the potential like game-winning run in a game that could potentially have an impact like down the road on a team's playoff, abilities, playoff seeding, whatever you want to call it. It just feels like a cheap way to end the game to me, and I've never liked it. Obviously, it seems like it's sort of around to stay, at least for the time being, but I hate it. But it's plain and simple, I hate it. Kyle, I know you and I have talked about this rule before. I'm curious to get. I know you sort of talked about it before, but I'm curious to sort of hear your take on it. But like I said, I can't stand it. It's like just definitely no. To quote good old Randy Jackson, it's a no for me, dog.
I mean, I think it's very lovely, and I think there are some positive. No, I'm just kidding. I freaking hate it too. I think it's actually really the dumbest rule out of the few rules we're going to talk about tonight. I agree with you. I agree with Robbie, and as someone who even is not as diehard of a baseball fan as you are, Robbie, I still hate it. Like I've played the sport enough too growing up that just knowing kind of like the very, very, at the very least, like the very basic rules of baseball. And to me, something like that just, you're right. I think you said it right pretty much, like in your whole speech there, like, it cheapens it. It just doesn't, I will say this. I understand the need to especially if it's like baseball overtime. Not everyone likes baseball overtime. It does end up stretching a little too long at times, and I understand that. And I think if they were to do something like that, I think there's probably other ways. There's probably better ways to kind of, speed up the game, if you will. Like, for example, like maybe if they decide instead of having, 4 balls and 3 strikes, maybe they can say like we'll do like 3 balls and 2 strikes or something like that. Like not everyone might agree with certain things like that, but
honestly, I would prefer that to this extra inning runner rule.
Right, but at least
because at least you if at least everybody's like earning their way on base and stuff like that.
It it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but at least it doesn't cheapen the game to the level that second base rule does. Like if they can just kind of I get it. I totally get it. Like sometimes baseball games they stretch on for what seems to be like
eternities,
a long time. Yeah, like especially when you
but
do
honestly,
overtime.
I don't. But my and honestly, and I think you would agree with this, is that particular rule to me doesn't necessarily impact that issue.
No,
like it doesn't. It's not really. It's not really that dramatically impacting the length of games. They still. I mean, I don't think the fans that can't stand the game because of that really see any big difference with that particular rule. Now, there's other rules that have been put in play that I actually don't mind that we'll talk about in just a second that have actually had a impact on the length of games this particular season, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But yeah, this rule, it doesn't make sense for so many reasons. That being one of them.
It's dumb. I just hope one day they just take out the rule or replace it, or honestly, you know what? Maybe don't replace it. Maybe just take it out altogether and just maybe keep some of the other rules in place and see how those work. You know, and with the shortening the game and see where to go from there. Like, do they need this rule that much? Like, especially with one of the rules that we're going to talk about eventually. But it's, this whole second base thing is really, really stupid. Like, it makes me mad. And I don't even watch baseball nearly as much as Robbie does. But it still makes me mad.
I remember I brought up this rule to Kyle at one point. Like, I forget if it was on this show or on the Sports Blitz at one time, but we had talked about this rule. The first time Kyle heard about it, like, you could just see the smoke billowing out of his ears, like, from the very first time he heard this rule. Because, like he said, he's not the biggest baseball guy. I get that. I respect that. But even he can see that, like, this rule just doesn't make sense on a number of different levels.
Yeah, I'm just like, you guys had just sat in a meeting room and then you came up with that. That's the a bunch of people, I'm sure so many people from the MLB had all just kind of collectively met together, and I'm like, that's what you guys came up with? If me, a non-baseball, a non-baseball fan, a very casual, just kind of like, yeah, I'll watch baseball every now and then person can come up with with other rules by myself without all these other MLB people around me that are probably actually more effective in shortening the game, then how the hell do these people come up with this rule? I'm sorry, like can someone explain that to me? like, you,
there is no explanation, Kyle. There is none.
I don't know.
No, you're right. I mean, it's head scratcher. It's a head scratcher and head shaker at the same time.
Stupid. It's just I don't know. But anyways, yeah. Well.
Yeah. No, I think we're in complete agreement here that rule just needs to be taken and just thrown out a window somewhere.
At the very least, either swapped with a new rule or just thrown out altogether.
Yeah.
Like who like stop. Just please stop with this rule. You're right. Like it does just
no, again, I'm in complete agreement with you. It's dumb.
Yeah.
But I want to actually go on to a rule that I actually do like that was just implemented this year, and that's the pitch clock. And this is a rule that actually has dramatically and the numbers bear this out, but it's dramatically impacted the length of games for the better. The games are definitely this year on average a lot shorter than they've been in the past years, and a big reason for that is because of the pitch clock rule, which is basically, long story short, basically pitchers get depending on the situation, they get between 15 to 20 seconds in between pitches. And if they're too slow, they get called for a ball. On the flip side, if a batter is too slow, like getting into the box or isn't ready at a certain time at the pitch clock, they actually get a strike called on them. So it sort of works both ways.
Interesting.
But I gotta say, now that I've seen it sort of play out a few months into the season, I like it. I like the fact that it's that games. Hey, listen, because I'm a big baseball fan. You guys who know me, Kyle, you know me, know that baseball has always been my number one sport. But even I, over the years, have found it to have gotten to be painfully slow at times. I get it.
Especially in overtime. Oh my god.
No, I get it. I get even regular, even just games that go the regular 9 innings were taking 3.5, 4 hours.
True, depending on the game.
Just way too slow. And so my thing was, what was I trying to say here? Oh yeah, my thing is that I actually don't mind this rule at all. I think it's a great idea. And it has definitely borne itself out, just in the sense that it has had the impact that they wanted it to have, which is it makes the games shorter, which made a lot of people very happy, myself included. I freely acknowledge that, and I think it's actually been surprisingly a very positive, despite the adjustments that pitchers and batters and sometimes the frustrations that come out of those adjustments that have had to be made because of it. I personally, I like it. I do.
Yeah, no, actually, when because I had just found out about this rule pretty recently, and I remember you explained to me I want to say this must have been a week or a few weeks ago, when I heard about it, I was like, oh, that actually does. I can see that now, shaving off, a chunk of small chunk of time every time the pitcher goes, it does go a long way, and I can see now in making the game length a lot shorter.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. That's something I personally would have never thought of, but I'm glad that they're actually, and this is more recent, so I'm glad they are actually now trying to maybe push this along, and hopefully maybe this can be sort of in place now of that stupid second base rule. Maybe they can just
I hate to say, because it doesn't seem like the base rule is going away anytime soon, but so unfortunately I think we're gonna have to kind of live with it but it doesn't mean we have to like it.
True, yeah, we can always voice our opinion.
We have freedom of speech.
Yeah, and I understand. I can understand if some people maybe have a problem with this particular one, maybe puts a little too much pressure on the pitchers, But you know what? It kind of keeps everyone on their toes, and I feel like it kind of brings us like a different kind of mindset, different approach on now how you pitch and how the batters get ready, like you said. Like, so I don't know, it is kind of a fun. I think it would, at least to me, like it sounds like it would be kind of a fun challenge, like in a good way. Like it would be something that, yeah, you're right, it does speed the game along, kind of keeps you more on your toes, when you're in those spots there. And yeah, you know what, it's something that I personally, you're right, like I agree. I think it seems to work. We'll see how it does in the long run, because it's the first year that they did it, right? They implemented it. So.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it gets a resounding thumbs up from the On a Couch crew. So, and then the third one that I wanted to talk about, which is something else that was adjusted this year, which I kind of come down on the side of not being a big fan of, is the elimination of the shift in baseball. For those who don't know what that is, basically they made a rule this year, starting this year, that the infielders, at least two infielders, have to be on each side of second base before each pitch. And so what that takes away is what was called the shift, which is mainly for like lefty batters. You would shift like your infield basically over to the right hand side of the infield, because that's where left-handed batters hit the ball. And so it's sort of a strategy thing. And now they've kind of taken it away by sort of outlawing that ability. And the reason why I don't like it per se, I mean, while it does, allow batters to get more hits, which is always exciting, at the same time, it does kind of seem to take away, like, the strategy of the game a little bit. Like, as somebody who's kind of a self-proclaimed baseball purist, so to speak, just, the inability to sort of, have that part of your strategy available just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Again, it's not a rule. It's not like the extra inning runner rule or something like that, where I'm like, like readying the pitchforks because of it, but it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Long story short, I just don't like the fact that it kind of takes away that aspect of the strategy of baseball. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not that strongly opposed to it, but I'm also I would definitely say, if I had to choose sort of for or against, I definitely would come down though on the side of being against it personally. But that's sort of my take on it. I know you just kind of like learned about this from me just recently. I don't know if you have any take on, or what your thoughts are.
Yeah, this one felt a little kind of just unnecessary. You're right, not as like kind of like damning as the second base thing. Not as like in your face, just like stupid. It just is like, okay, it's a very minor thing that they changed. It's not like a huge thing. They it took me a while to kind of like really think about this one. And I guess I'm kind of in the same boat. I wouldn't agree with it being on there. Like, you're right, it does take some strategy away. I don't know why this handicap would be there in the first place, this kind of like limit. Like, was there a reason why they had put that rule there? Like, did they say one?
It's tough, because I'm not 100% sure what the exact rationale was behind it. I know that one of the complaints about the shift from just average, Joe Schmo baseball fan was that, it sort of took away the ability, like, it was kind of an unfair, it put lefty hitters at a disadvantage, because like, when you had everybody shifted over, like, it was harder for them to get like base hits and stuff like that, because wherever you hit, it seemed like somebody was there. But that's also kind of like, that's just part of the strategy of baseball. I mean, defensively, you're trying to prevent hits, and so that's like one way to do that. But again, I don't, it's hard, because it's like one of those rules where I just know they like outlawed it. I didn't really I didn't look maybe as much as I should have, and as to sort of the rationale behind it. So I don't want to speculate too much on that.
I just think it's like really strange, like to limit movement in baseball. Like obviously, if you're a batter, you gotta stay on the plate while you bat. Like I get that, and obviously if you're near the base, you gotta stay kind of in the vicinity of like first base, second base, third base, wherever you're playing. And you kind of have your sections, but I don't know. This one just seems a little too restrictive. I'm just like, it just seems very unnecessary. Like, I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Maybe there's something that we're missing. Maybe there's a key reason that maybe we so
drop a comment, folks, please. If you have a thought on one of these rules or sort of something you want to add to what we're just talking about, please feel free to drop us a comment, folks. We would love to hear from you. But some interesting rule talk. It's sort of the first is several episodes in a row where we're going to sort of dive into the world of sports rules, which is going to be very interesting as we move on. Some of the other sports here, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. But
yes,
we are going to move on now to the end
series.
Yeah, we are going to a series within a series. We are going to move on to the end portion of our episode now, and I'm going to go first quickly with my final thought. I just want to give sort of a little PSA to folks because I saw an article or a news story the other day that kind of like hit somewhat close to home for me as a baseball umpire. As many of you know, that I am in Taunton, Massachusetts, which is a little bit south of where we are. I guess the Little League umpires basically kind of like walked off the job and refused to umpire like at the end of the season just because of like the harassment that they were taking from parents and coaches at the field. And I just again, I feel like this is something that has to be said way too often, and it shouldn't have to be said. It's like, it's Little League baseball, folks. It's youth sports. Like, cut it out. Like, please stop harassing the officials if they make one call that goes against your player's team or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. It's youth sports. No, it's not. 10 years down the road, nobody's gonna care if your son's team or daughter's team won the youth baseball or softball championship. It does not matter. And the fact of the matter is that we have a critical shortage of youth sports officials in this country because parents and coaches cannot contain themselves and think that somehow their kids are playing the World Series of youth baseball. It's ridiculous. Like, stop. Like, you folks, like, there's a couple leagues that I've heard of who actually have handled this situation, I think, perfectly. And I think more leagues around the nation need to adopt this, especially for baseball and softball, because it's kind of, this is where it applies. But even for other sports, you could apply it as well. There's two leagues, one's in Connecticut and one's in New Jersey, who both have implemented rules where if you get like thrown out of a game, like of a youth sports game, whether you're a parent, fan, coach, whatever, if you get thrown out of a game, you are not allowed to come back to any games for that league until you officiate at least 3 games yourself.
Oh, look at that. Throw it in their face. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think that is absolutely perfect because maybe
take notes, Massachusetts.
Yeah, because maybe if people like experience that firsthand, maybe they'll finally show them like, first of all, how tough it is to be an official to begin with, like having to make calls at a split second's notice. We don't have replay. We don't have anything. We basically have to call something based on what we see in like no time flat. I mean, just give it a rest, folks, please. Like, be kind to the officials, and remember, there are people too. A lot of them are volunteers or basically doing this for maybe like a few bucks here and there, but they're just doing it for the love of the game, basically. And it's your kids not. Most of your kids are not going to be playing professional baseball. They're this is not the World Series. Like, just. It just drives me crazy. And to see that article, I'm glad the umpires in Taunton kind of took a stand and said like we're not going to umpire these games anymore because the behavior is getting dangerous to our like safety and security. So it's ridiculous, and it just people need to put it bluntly, like grow up, like and just and stop. So, like I said, that's kind of my PSA / rant for the night for my final thoughts. So,
nice, well said.
Just do better, America. Just do better in terms of your behavior, your sporting events. But anyway, to brighten things up after after that rant, I do want to turn it over to my pal Kyle here for another edition of the segment we all love, the Sue's Reviews. So, take it away.
All right, so today I want to talk about this movie that I had actually seen back in March, and it really kind of stuck with me. You know, sometimes you just have, I don't know if I'm sure you guys have seen movies or shows that just, you know, you watch it once and it just really, really sticks with you, and you think about it all these months later. And the movie in question I'm talking about is the Banshees of Inisherin. So it actually, yes, it's one of the Oscar nominated movies that that came out earlier. I want to say technically it may have come out the end of last year, beginning of maybe like the very beginning of this year. And it's a movie set on this small town in Ireland, and during like during like World War One, and basically it's about these two friends, played by Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, both terrific actors. The movie's directed by Martin McDonagh, and yes, it's basically the whole same team that did they did a cult classic called In Bruges that came out back in 2008, which is a great movie. I highly recommend that you guys check out In Bruges too. You know, it's just one of the most like fascinating, just like incredible movies that I've seen ever. But this movie really stuck with me just for a lot of reasons this year. And first of all, it's a very well made movie, very well directed, and I just love just the acting's incredible, the scenery is great. It's a really stunning movie. It's like it's wow. It's you just watch it and you're in awe the whole time, because they use they shoot on location on this island, and it's really cool. It's just like it just looks beautiful. Like you want to go there. But I will say the story itself is pretty dark. So basically it's about these two friends, as I was saying earlier, one who's a farmer, the other one who is a fiddle player. So Brendan Gleeson plays the fiddle player, and he one day just goes to Colin Farrell, who plays the farmer, and he just says, "Hey, you know, they're best friends. They've been best friends for a while." He just one day goes up to him and says, "Hey, I'm not your friend anymore," and that really kind of kicks off the whole vibe of the movie, and you're like, "Oh, okay." That's kind of random, and it starts off as this very kind of like absurd sort of comedy. The writing's really on point. Like Martin McDonagh, he's actually a playwright too. He's done plenty of different plays, and he you can definitely tell like the writing is just spot on. Like it's got a lot of really funny jokes, very dark humor and stuff like that. But I don't want to say too much more about the story. It's a movie you really just need to kind of just go in and check out, because there's all these other elements that kind of come into play, and there are even at times where I feel like the movie works on a whole nother level. So while you're watching this movie, it's about you kind of look at it as like this drama sort of like this drama with comedic elements about these two friends, about their friendship and what it means, and why is one of them just like willing to end it. And you do end up kind of finding out like their mindset and why they kind of came to this conclusion, or to this decision that they had. And but the movie as it goes on gets very dark, and at times it works, like I said, as a drama, but at other times kind of a horror movie too. And so if you kind of go into this movie with that approach, sort of like looking at these two different lenses, that's why I find it's a very, you can kind of rewatch this movie and you can kind of watch it very differently, if you will. I think it works very much as a horror movie, and the way they set that up is very interesting. You don't really see it, but it's there. Like, there's just shots, there's like conversations, and there's just mentions of different things that you're just like, wait, this is very like, I don't know, it has a very kind of creepy undertone to it. And that's one of the things I loved about it as a horror movie fan. I love that. It was just, it's a very layered movie. It's just got a lot going on in it. And that's why, to me, it's actually one of the most impressive movies I've seen in the past, like maybe 5-10 years. Like, wow.
Not saying a lie.
Yeah, right?
For you, yeah. That's big. That's high acclaim.
Yeah, like I mean, I haven't really had many movies that, especially more recently, that have made me think this much in the past, think about it and all the themes that was going on the past, like, yeah, it's just, it's a very well made movie. It does get very dark, so I gotta warn you, it does go there. Like, when you think it's going to go there and you're thinking, or when it kind of hints that it's going to go there and you're thinking, oh, it's not going to go there, it goes there. Believe me, it goes there. It does. Yeah.
But does it go there?
Oh, yeah. It's wild. So I will say, like, it does get, like, the semi kind of, like, dark stuff, maybe not everyone will gravitate to. So just to warn you, it's definitely not a movie for kids. Don't bring your kids to this one. But it's just in how interesting it is, like, in how just it presents itself and everything. It's a very stunning film. So just check it out. Banshees of Inisherin, Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, directed by Martin McDonagh. Just really good. Very Irish too. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, if Kyle is giving it such high praise, I think you folks should definitely go check it out. So, because like I said, that is very high acclaim coming from Kyle. I mean, the stuff that he was saying about being the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, that's something, folks. So, you should definitely check that out. So, thank you, Kyle, for that lovely review, as always. And thank you to all of you for watching this edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. We really appreciate it, as always. And as always, feel free to like and subscribe, ring the bell, tell your friends. We always appreciate it, and we always appreciate our sponsors, Diamond Organizing and Wes Woodson. Thank you, as always, for your continued support, not just of our show, but of the Sports Blitz and Screen Time with Doug and Kyle as well. 3 great shows, 3 great guys. That's our tagline that I just made up 5 seconds ago. Anyway, so that is going to do it for this week's edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and as always, that's Kyle. I'm Robbie. Oh, by the way, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. So check us out on all 3 of those locations. But yeah, he's Kyle. I'm Robbie. I know I just said that, but I figure I'd say it again. This is The Couch, and we will see you next time from The Couch to talk some more sports. Bye, everybody.